The North Central men's indoor track and field team welcomed the nation to the Albicarius track, but couldn't come away with their fourth straight national title. We recap the championships and see how the team looks to respond in the outdoor campaign right now on the Cardinal Report. Welcome to the Cardinal Report. I'm Marc Dahlquist. Joining me to start things off this week is head coach for the men's indoor track and field team, Frank Gramarosso. Coach, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me again.
So obviously, not the outcome the Cardinals were hoping for, an 8th place finish. You weren't able to bring home your 4th straight title, but you still got to be proud of the guys that were out there competing.
Yeah, we're always proud of the athletes that get a chance to experience the national meet, actually competing. And then the rest of the team being at home, being able to see what it takes to be at the national championships. But certainly as the weeks were going on and we were losing some people, you know, we had 4 athletes returning that weren't in this meet that scored last year. So that was a concern of mine, trying to break into the top 5, knowing that some of our athletes are slipping a little bit because of their injuries, and they scored last year, but they weren't going to be able to be in the meet this year.
Yeah, even though you had some guys that were expected to be there when the season started, they weren't able to make it, but other guys stepped up in this meet, and you had some nice first-time All-Americans.
Yeah, anytime you're in the top 10 in the country, you know, that's one of our main goals, and certainly we want to be on the podium and get a trophy, but being, you know, in the top 10 with a variety of athletes, just not, you know, a guy who wins 2 events and you score 20 points. We want to be a true track and field team like we were this season. We beat some of those schools in regular season meets and invitationals, and they just had more firepower at the national level than we did.
Well, the Cardinals still had some fire in their game, and the Cardinal Report was there to see the team try to bring home title number 4. Let's go to the highlight. North Central College, the site for the 2013 Division III Indoor Track and Field Championships. Josh Winder hoping to repeat as national champion in the pole vault, as he's the only Cardinal representing the team after 3 in last year's championship. He started off in a groove as he passed on the first 3 heights, then he cleared 16 feet and 1/2 inch with ease. He only needed 1 attempt the following height as well, as he sails over 16 feet 4.5 inches. But he would miss on 16 feet 6.5 inches and pass up to 16 feet 8 1/4, and that height proved to be too tall of a task. But he snags 3rd overall and makes it 6 straight seasons for an All-American Cardinal vaulter. It took a career day from Zach Ferreira of Brockport State to knock Winder from the top of the podium, as he clears 16 feet 8 1/4 inches to claim the national title. The Cardinals sit 8th in the team standings after day 1. In the 800-meter final, Pat Foley representing the Cardinals after just making the race by 0.06 of a second in the prelims. But that was the difference for him finishing as an All-American with a time of 1 minute 56.58 seconds, good enough for 8th place. John Crane highlighted the weekend for the Cardinals in the 5,000 meters. He was sticking with the pack for most of the race, but as they headed into the final lap, he had moved all the way up to the lead. Chris Stadler of Haverford College had just too much left in the tank at the end, as he would edge him out for the title. Crane's time of 14 minutes 28.92 seconds gives him an All-American Track and Field trophy to add to his cross-country ones. But the Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference was just too strong over the weekend, taking the top 4 spots, led by the University of Wisconsin lacrosse, who scored a whopping 74 points to deny the Cardinals a 4th straight title. Coach, you sort of alluded to it. The Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference just had an amazing showing at that meet. And the Cardinals, you guys were able to hang with them in the regular season. What do you think they were able to do differently in the national meet? Well,
they had national level performers in a lot of different events. I believe I read this morning lacrosse had 18 All-Americans.
Wow.
And I think the conference as a whole had like 60. So we always known the WEAC schools, you know, are tough. They our state schools. Their tuition's not as high, but we want to be with the best, and right now they're the best, and we want to keep striving to be at that level. They played second fiddle to us the last couple of years, and they've reloaded and had some coaching changes, and now they're doing what they're capable of doing, you know, on a regular basis. So it's time for us to reload and, you know, have some goals to run with them, and you know, be in that kind of situation where you have numerous athletes. Some of their guys didn't, you know, score very well, but they had enough of them to score 70-some points and have 18 All-Americans. That's a tough team to beat.
Well, don't sell your team short. You guys are still up there with the best, an 8th place finish. A lot of teams would you know, do anything they could to try and get that. So the Cardinals obviously still have some, you know, a little bit of rebuilding to do, but you credit in the injuries, and the Cardinals would be right there near the top of the podium.
Yeah, I think it would have been tough, but you know, scoring 30-some points with the athletes who weren't in the meet because of injuries, you know, I think that was a attainable goal, and we just didn't have them as part of the group this year, and hopefully they'll try to get back and be with us outdoors.
And how is it for you as a coach? I know you were focused strictly on coaching, but being on the home track, the Albie Carriers track, what was that like welcoming in the nation? Yeah,
you know, you're always wondering how it's going to turn out, and certainly I couldn't criticize a lot because I wasn't involved in a lot of planning meetings. Our athletic administration allowed me to coach throughout the year, but you know, I gave them ideas and tips. You know, that was our 10th national being host 10 times. I was involved with 9 of them. Coach Carriers was involved with all of them. So they came to us with some suggestions, and we told them what we thought you know, would work best. But really, the athletic administration and, you know, Mahesh being on the NCAA committee, they did all the work. And I piddled around at the meet to keep nervous energy down. But you know, these officials come from all over, and they have to know what works in your facility. I spent a lot of time at the long jump area helping with changing the boards and doing things that I know how to do to make life easier for the officials, instead of them scratching their head, how do you put this board in? So it worked out great.
Just helping out where you can.
That's right.
And you had a lot of athletes helping out in the meet, and as you mentioned before, this sort of gave an opportunity for some of the athletes that didn't qualify to sort of see what it's like in a national meet. Do you think that might make some of them hungrier to try and strive to be there in the future?
Sure, it has in the past. You know, when we've hosted outdoors, there was usually a little spike increase in the guys for the following year. And, you know, I believe even on our own team that did compete, you know, we had 3 sophomores, a freshman, and 5 juniors, and they're all coming back. So we have a lot to look forward to.
You know, there's definitely a lot to look forward to, and don't go anywhere because we have a lot to look forward to as we continue to break down the Cardinals with Coach Gramarosso right after this.
Loaves and Fishes Community Pantry provides more than food. We provide hope. With your help, we can provide food and hope to children, families, and seniors in need. Please visit us online to find out how you can join us in the fight to end hunger in our community. Loaves and Fishes, the power of community to change lives.
Welcome back to the show. With us still is head coach for the men's indoor track and field team, Frank Gramarosso. Coach, so you guys had a number of athletes competing. Let's go over some of the performances. Start off with John Crane in the 5,000 meters on day 2. One of the most exciting races of the meet, even though it's probably one of the longer ones.
Yes, he did a fantastic job and had his race plan and stuck to it. And you're always worried is it gonna be slow? Is it gonna, you know, just crawl? And you know, it wasn't honest in the beginning, but then it started rolling to be an honest race. And he ran a few seconds slower than his best time this year. And he took off with a mile to go there to, you know, stick it to some guys who had some faster leg speed. And it strung out a little bit, but a couple of them stayed close. But that was his race plan. He stuck to it, and you know, the results. Wanted to win, but sometimes getting second place is, as long as it falls your way with your plan and not following somebody else's plan.
Yeah, second place in Nationals is quite an accomplishment, and one of your guys who's had a lot of accomplishments lately is Josh Winder in the pole vault. He comes away with a 3rd place finish in what was normally an event where usually 2, 3, maybe 4 Cardinals are competing in, but unfortunately this year he was just all by his lonesome.
Yeah, he wasn't a team this year. You know, John Wood graduated, and you know, we know that Peter Garrett, he broke his arms in practice. So Josh was the lone wolf this year, and you know, competed well. And you'll be able to talk to him a little later in the show. And you know, you never know what's going to happen in the vault. Sometimes it's your day, and sometimes you know, little technique-wise, things aren't working right. But anytime, again, you place in the national meet, that's your goal and your purpose. And now it's on to bigger and better things for the outdoor season.
And we mentioned Crane in the 5,000. He had the option of whether he wanted to focus on that or the distance medley, as well as Deontay Hackler. So he had two new guys in the distance medley, but still a great experience for them as they come away with an All-American finish. Yeah,
both Johnny and Deontay, you know, got us in the national meet. I think we had the 5th best time going in, and the plan all along was to, you know, give some experience to some other guys so Deontay and John can handle their, you know, focus on their main event. So it turned out that two new national qualifiers, a freshman, Abe, and then Muth, our 2nd best miler on the team. They were able to compete and get on the podium for a 7th place finish.
And another Cardinal that got him to the podium, just barely sneaking into the finals in the 800, Pat Foley. 0.06 of a second got him into that finals race. That just shows that even in those longer races, every 1/10 of a second matters.
Yeah, it sure does. You know, same thing outdoors. You know, he came on and ran a great outdoor performance, but just fell short in the prelims. So I think he had it planned this year. I'm making that finals, but when there's 2 sections, you got to go. You never know. And then he knows he made a tactical error in the finals by following the wrong guy.
Yeah.
The race was in front of both of them, but he's got some national experience. Now he's an All-American, and again, on the bigger and better things.
Yeah, hopefully he can learn from it and return even stronger. And one guy that was returning this year was Zach Kierspink in the high jump again, but unfortunately he was unable to make the podium. What do you think Zach just wasn't having the day he wanted?
He came back after, you know, fall term. He had a bad ankle injury that he's been nursing all year, and it doesn't bother him except in the J curve, that you run up. And he had a lot of issues with that this year, but came through in the end to actually qualify, and then, you know, had a couple good jumps, but just couldn't muster it up during the national meet. But we have outdoors for him. Hopefully he'll heal over spring break here and then try to come back and, you know, do what he's capable of doing.
In his first experience jumping at a national meet, Matt Sylvanasing in the long jump, only was able to get 1 mark, not the day he was hoping for, but again, experience gained.
Yeah, he had one of those things, they don't measure that foul, but Coach DeBoer said there was a good jump there that he could have been in the finals, but same thing, you got to hit that board. You got to have the right consistent run up, and he looked very fast. You know, he is a 60-meter guy, and those first 2 attempts, he went all out after it and just had some, you know, a very minor foul, but a foul's a foul. And then he was conservative on his last jump, and it just wasn't enough to get in there. But he's only a sophomore.
That's right, Coach. There's a lot of bright things in the future, and it was a pleasure covering you guys at the national meet. Best of luck in the outdoor season.
Well, thank you.
Don't change that channel, because after the break, we welcome in 2 All-American Cardinals who all put points on the board in nationals. We'll be right back.